In the first lockdown, I bought my first ever camper van, which was this, and I turned it into this. And then about a year and a half later, I wanted something a little bit bigger, so I bought this. And now, well, she looks like this. You see, the problem with all the other reviews that I've found on YouTube with the Grand California is, well, it's someone who just jumps in it for the day, has a little walk around and says it looks nice and it drives nice, and well, it does. But unfortunately, having a camper van's nothing like that. Having a camper van's a little bit more like the process of buying a house. You see the show home and everything looks fantastic. You actually move into the home, then you see cracks around the doors, you see bits that have been mispainted and issues and all the rest of it that need to be fixed under warranty. And that's what it's like having a camper van. So we've had the Grand California for over 8 months, we've done over 12,000 miles and slept in it for over 75 nights. And we've got a pretty good understanding of what it's like to live with this thing. And I wanted to start off with probably the biggest issue, which is VW service. Now, when I say service, I mean service and repair and fixing issues that you have. They launched it during lockdown, which was the first mistake, because then they never got to train any of the service staff on how to fix any of it. I've had this camper van in for repair at 3 different VW van centres for a period in total of 2 months, and none of the issues that I've actually taken the camper van in for have ever been fixed. And that might be early teething issues that they may have fixed through the van centres, but that's not the point. There is still a huge lack of knowledge whenever you take it to any VW van centres, because they're not used to dealing with this kind of thing. It's a van centre, they sell vans, not camper vans, and there's a big difference between the two. Now, the next thing I've got a slight issue with is this. It's the Truma control panel thing, and it controls your boiler and heating and all the rest of it. Now, the issue I've got with that is that I've had up to now 8 different error codes that are not even in the manual. How are you supposed to try and fix things yourself, or at least clear off error codes to get everything working again, if you know what the problem is and it doesn't tell you how to clear the code off? So that's an issue. Just update your manual, make sure all the codes are in there. Whatever this is capable of putting codes out for, whether we can fix it ourselves or not, put them in the manual. At least then we can at least decide, does it need to go on for a repair, or have I just got to switch something off or reset something? You're just guessing otherwise. Now, the next point I did cover on the last video, and I did get a lot of hate for it and a lot of kickback, because apparently that's just how Frost Protect works and that's how the Truma system works in every camper van. Well, it's wrong. It shouldn't work like that. In this camper van, the water tank is on the inside. So I don't care what the outside temperature is, providing the inside is not below 0, there's no risk that my water tank is going to freeze. So why dump all the water out? It's going to leave you in the shit with no water until it's back above 0, because if you fill it back up, it just does it again. That's a huge design oversight. It's just wrong. It should not work that way. I totally understand if your water tank is under or outside the camper van. Once it gets to that sort of temperature, yes, dump all the water out, because it is at risk of freezing and cracking the tank. And the main thing for anyone who may think it's just meant to be like that is, then why is there a grey water tank, which is on the outside and it is also full with water? Why does that not dump everything out once you get below 0? Because that one is at risk of rupturing. The one on the inside of your van's not. So if one of the reasons you were buying this is to do some cold weather camping, just be mindful that you're probably going to have to do so without any water. In the last video, I mentioned that the water pump will just come on in the middle of the night, sound like some sort of generator in your ear and wake you up. Now, I've been informed since then that it's actually this tap that causes it. Now, the tap leaks water down into where the switch is, confusing the water pump into thinking that it's on, and yeah, well, it just makes a load of noise in the middle of the night. So just be mindful of this tap, this one that always just falls off in my van. If your tap looks like this one, well, then it's the old tap, and they should have fixed it by the time you take delivery of your new VW Grand California. And if you have not, then you're either living with a water-free, hands-free tap, or, well, you need to put it in for repair as soon as you get it, because they need to drill a new hole apparently, because the tap size is different. So just be mindful of that and just double check that they're going to do that before you take delivery. So the engineers at VW, which obviously made this medium wheelbase van, it's relatively long. There's a lot of places that could put things. So what they've done is to strategically put the outlet for sort of the gas, where all the fumes and all the rest of it come from, well, right underneath your window. Now, the problem with VW's design choices of putting that there is the fact, well, it's right under your window. So if you want gas on, you can't open the window, because if you do, it trips this little switch thing off here and just turns all the gas off. And you're telling me a company this size of VW, with the resources they've got and everything else, couldn't have put that somewhere else? Just, I don't know, 2 foot further back would have done. Anywhere, just not under a window. So yeah, just a stupid design oversight in my eyes. And next on the list of issues is this ugly thing. It's a fuel step, and well, it's uglier than this as standard because it's all silver, and no matter what colour van you have, well, you've got a big rectangle silver slab hanging underneath it. And that's not the only issue. I've had issues with mine where it grinds and it gets stuck out or part of the way in, or it won't come out. Tons of issues with it, and it's not just me. I've spoken to at least 2 other Gran California owners at different campsites that have had the exact same issue with that. They both had to get theirs replaced. I haven't had mine replaced. It seems to kind of work sometimes and doesn't work sometimes, and again, I don't really want to have to just leave it in a dealership getting fixed. So yeah, that's an issue. It needs fixing, and to be fair, just make it black. They do sell a black one. These are just ugly. Firstly, just ignore the crack at the top. I will explain that later. And secondly, well, on all the videos you see this, the reviewers are like, oh, it's huge. Well, it's not really, because there's a shelf above it. So although you have got space for a couple of tall bottles, it's not actually as big as it looks. Yes, this looks huge and you think, Jesus, I can fit tons in there. You can fit a lot in there, but it's not as big as you think. But that's not the main issue. I'll have to bring the camera a little bit closer to show you what I mean next. So we'll have to switch to a little bit of a handheld mode to be able to show you what I mean. But this here, this metal bit, well, it doesn't go to the top. So everything that just happens to just pop over the top of there sits in the back of your fridge, and you can't really see it without getting right in there. And well, there's nothing in there at the minute, but there has been. There was 4 garlic cloves that had been sitting in there for God knows how long. The whole place was absolutely lifting. So just be mindful, check behind the little drawer thing as often as you can, because things will inevitably end up behind there. So this here, that little black thing there, that was the reason that this happened. Basically the threads on that go all the way to the back and the front, and well, it come out, which meant the handle just didn't work, and there was physically no way of getting into the fridge because the handle didn't work and it's kind of locked shut. So we had to use a crowbar and smash all the top in to basically open the door, and then I had to fix it myself. And well, yeah, it's an issue. You've got one tiny little bolt that's threaded all the way through, and it will, because it's essentially being pulled at, it will come out eventually, and there's no physical way of getting at that without taking this plastic off. But you can't take the plastic off without opening the door. So if that comes off and your door's open for the fridge, you'll be fine. But if it's not, you're knackered really. All I would say now is drill a little hole, and if anyone has this issue, contact us and I'll be able to explain where the little bolt is, if the bolt's dropped out, and how to get it back in. If it hasn't dropped out, well, get yourself a crowbar. And that little plastic panel on the top of the fridge, well, they're 230 quid plus VAT. It's not cheap really. And yes, I could have took it to VW, but it happened 3 days before the NC500, so well, I needed to fix it. I couldn't just leave it in getting repaired for God knows how long, and well, ultimately they would have just done the same as well. So yeah, major design fault that. Now the next fault is another fridge related fault, and it's the runners that the fridge is on. And although they've got a soft close feature, good luck getting them to work because it never shuts. And this was before I broke all of this as well. So you get the top in and the bottom's not shut, so you have to shut it that way, and mine's been like that from the start. This could just be mine, but it could also be many more. I haven't actually spoken to anyone else about it, but yeah, it's an issue that I've had with mine. So with the next one, we'll give VW a little bit of a break and go to something that's not really their issue, and it's about these gas bottles. Because mine hasn't got the diesel heater, it's essentially got 2 gas bottles, and when I bought mine there was a shortage on steel or something, so you couldn't actually get a gas bottle unless you had one to trade. That was obviously an issue because then I couldn't cook. I literally couldn't use the camper van till I got some gas. So just be mindful that this could still be an issue. I'm not sure if it is, but if it is, just check ahead of time that you can pick these bottles up. If not, maybe speak to your dealership and see if they might know anyone or anywhere that you can get some, because obviously I had the issue where I just couldn't. So be mindful of that and sort of plan ahead of time. If you are buying one of these and you haven't got any gas bottles already, you might not be able to get some. Now, if you've watched any of the other reviews from other channels, you'll see this plug socket's located nicely around the camper van, and well, they are, but they only work if you're plugged into a campsite. So if you do a fair bit of off-grid camping like we do, well, then you can't plug anything in unless it's USB. So it's a bit of an oversight. I wish they would have put like an optional extra you could have bought with a better inverter or something that does let you use the plug sockets, but they haven't, so well, you can't. Now, while we're on the subject of the batteries, I have spoke to a couple of people at campsites with Grand Californias that have had issues with the capacity of the battery, that they're sort of flat within 24 hours apparently, and personally I haven't had that issue. I have got a solar panel and both of theirs didn't, so I don't know if that maybe makes that amount of difference. I'm not too sure, but I just thought I'd mention it because, like I said, it has been mentioned to me, not something I've experienced, so I can't really comment on it, so make of that what you will. Just thought I'd bring it up. Now, with the cupboard space which you've got for all your clothing and everything, well, it looks massive, and this one is ideal. It's got a nice mesh net in there which keeps all your clothes handy, and that's fine if that's the only one you use, but you're not going to, because you've got far too many clothes, so you're going to use this one as well. And unfortunately this one and the one on the other side, because they're tall and they've got no sort of net or anything, the more you stack up, the more you'll be hit with when you open the cupboards. I've installed a sort of a bungee system here just to keep me stuff from falling out, and realistically you've either got that option or just be hit by everything when you open the cupboards. And well, in the ones behind you, you're probably going to put tins in there. So on to the good things really, and we'll start off with, well, one of the more important things really, which is sort of how it drives. And it drives very nice. It's got so many options you can pick. It's got your adaptive cruise control and all the rest of it, which just makes life so much easier. I'm not saying other camper vans or anything don't have that, but the fact that this one does just makes life a lot easier, especially on those long journeys. And I think the Grand California 600 specifically is a perfect size. It's not too long where it's hard to drive or a pain to live with, but it's not too short where you don't have enough space inside. It's not really any wider than a normal car, I wouldn't say. It doesn't feel big to drive, and I just think all in all, driving it is a lovely drive, and I do enjoy driving it, and it's comfortable, very comfortable and quiet, other than the rattling, but that's technically not, well, yeah, it does rattle. It's not that quiet actually. So next, well, it's the bed. The bed is nice and comfortable right out the box. You've got these nice little weird plasticky springy things underneath, which are a great idea, and the bed is comfortable. Now, I am a giant 5'11". I would say at a relatively average height. I've got foot space and still head space. I can lie here quite comfortably. The only slight issue is that it does kind of come out a little bit on this side, so the taller of the two of yous, if there is two of yous, it's probably better to sleep on this side here rather than the other side. But the bed is definitely a thumbs up. Comfortable, spacious enough. I like it. In the bigger one though, you sleep lengthways, which probably makes it even better. But then you're living with a bigger van, so it's up to you. Moving on to, well, storage space. Although it is a bit of a pain the way they've sort of laid the cupboards out, there is still a lot of storage space, sort of top and bottom. So you get a bottom one, and if I can shut it, the top one, the catches are awful, or I'm meant to be doing good things here, but them catches are just terrible, and the squeak, never mind. But anyway, there is a decent amount of storage space over here. You miss a fair bit because of the size of the fridge, so you haven't got a big sort of cupboard at the bottom there. You have a couple of drawers, and then obviously cupboard doors in the garage. But yeah, there's a decent enough storage. We've never really ran out of storage space, to be honest, and we do take a lot of crap with us whenever we go anywhere, so storage space is a thumbs up as well. Yes, I'm back down here where the fridge is, and it's not for the fridge technically, it's the freezer part, which is on the plus side. So the freezer is deep. It is literally me arm pretty much, and fit me almost me full arm in there. It's a good space. It goes back for miles, gets proper cold, and to be fair, even on its low setting, the fridge is basically a freezer because it frosts everything over. But ultimately the freezer is a nice size, so that's another thumbs up. So I'm fully expecting the odd comment here and there about the fact that, well, there's things I'm complaining about, or a lot of them aren't actually VW products. Well, they're not, but they're inside a VW product. If the camera was bad on the new iPhone, you wouldn't complain to the company that made the camera, you complain to Apple for picking that camera. That is where the buck stops, unfortunately, in the decisions they've made. Well, VW made them, not the other companies. So So finally, onto the last positive thing, and well, weirdly, it's something I mentioned as a negative previously, which is the service from VW, because well, if VW can fix the service at the van centres, they've got 67 of them just dotted around the UK, plus 30 other authorised repairers as well, so that's 97 places you could take the camper van should you have an issue, which, well, you will have issues because it's a house on wheels and everything gets jiggled around, so we all know that there's going to be issues. Should they fix that, well, then VW are laughing really, because they've got van centres all the way across Europe and in other places in the world as well, so really no matter where you are, you should be able to get it fixed in theory. But that's not necessarily how it's panned out so far. So VW, fix that and you could be onto a winner. But onto the final point, which is, well, would I recommend the Grand California? And well, I can't recommend it because I've had so many negative sides to it as well. All I would say though is do your own research, make your own mind up, and don't let this dissuade you from getting them. They are great, and I'm sure there's owners out there that's never had any issues at all, but I have, and I can't recommend it, unfortunately. So yeah, make an informed decision, do your research, and get whatever suits you. That's it really.